Good morning, YouTube. It is August 3rd, and when you receive this video, it'll be in September. But today, we're gonna, or this morning, I'm gonna check on the garden. So, here we go. I turned the lawn in our front yard, at least part of it, into a garden. You saw in one of my random videos. If not, I can link a link below. We are planning to leave in this area that we're living in because we want to have a better quality of life and sustainability. We want to grow our own food, and we would like, at least it's our dream, to have a homestead. Well, God had other plans and said not yet, so we decided to have a garden. And so I'll start out here. This is my zucchini. It's grown. I use a trellis. I learned that from another YouTuber called Next Level Gardening. I will link his link below. He gave me this idea, so I'm starting to use trellises where I can grow food upward. And if you look close, I've already harvested a few zucchini. There's one back here that's growing, and then there's that one there. I found a slug on this one this morning, got him, and I use these concrete blocks and I put onions in them, and they seem to be thriving pretty well. And I think that next year what I'm going to do is add more concrete blocks, so maybe make them 2 or 3 tier, and see if I can do better with the zucchini and have a deeper well for them. And this is our lime tree, and it's finally grown fruit. We put this lime tree in about 5 years ago, and it's taken that long before we finally received any fruit on it. And not just 1 or 2, but we've got a few fruit growing. And so this year we're going to have limes. I'm going to study up more on lime tree and how to take care of them, because I'd like to have fruit every year. I did read somewhere or heard something about limes and how they will produce fruit every other year. So what fruit they produced on what tree limbs one year, the next year they won't produce fruit on that, but possibly other fruit. They rotate, so to speak. I will check that out later and see how we can grow this lime tree bigger and better than what it already is. But I'm very excited that we finally have limes. I have in here my garlic and onion intermixed. This is my big potato plant. Now, the cool thing about these potato plants is I just took regular new potatoes and red potatoes, and I had them in my pantry, and I decided to stick them in the ground. I learned on a YouTube channel that that's all you really need to do is just stick a potato in the ground and they'll grow. Well, I decided to try that out, and we harvested some potatoes already, and this is the second round. Now, when I harvested these potatoes, I must have left a few potatoes in the ground because these started sprouting up, and we harvested in June, I think, and now look at, they're already ready to go. And so we're going to get 2 yields, I believe. We might even get 3, because I live in a zone 9A, 9B. So we have long summers, and my last frost date, or my first frost date for fall, is November 21st. So we have quite a bit of growing yet to do. I have a jasmine over here, and I have a tree. I had bought a bunch of those dwarf trees. I planted that 5 years ago. The same with that lime tree. And that's as far as it's grown. It is not growing very much, but it has survived. I had several of them, hoping that we could somehow do some type of privacy along this fence because it is an alley that we're next to. But so far, that hasn't worked out very well. It's still there, it's still growing, but it's growing very slow. If anybody has any suggestions on what I can do to cover this fence, I have thought of all kinds of options. I just haven't come up with anything ideal yet to give us a little more privacy. Although my rose I planted this summer does like it there, so I will keep it there. This is my artichoke. I've already harvested that this year, and it is growing again, and so we'll get a second yield on that. So these down here are my straight neck summer squash and zucchini. And then I have my rosemary and my celery. We'll come around to this side. The celery, it bolted, and I thought, you know, it'd be kind of cool maybe to let it go to seed so that I can possibly seed save and see how well that would turn out. I am curious. I just planted down here for the fall crops, beets and radishes. So I'm hoping that they will work really well in this soil, but I am trying to trim a lot of these trees because it gives a lot of shade. I have my Oklahoma rose over here, and I have my cucumber. The cucumber love that spot. It is getting spotty leaves. It didn't have that before. I don't know what that's from. I will have to do some more research, but I will say that that cucumber right there is growing very big. It wasn't very big a couple of days ago, and there are more growing down here, and there is a few growing here. So this is my first time growing cucumber. I haven't grown cucumber before. I'm having fun doing it. I will come to the back. I'm now at the front or the back of the garden. I don't know what you would call that, but those are my sugar pumpkins. They're growing. I just put in these trellis triangles, and I used zip ties. I bought them at the dollar store and to hold them up, and so far it's working rather well. And then this is my spaghetti squash. I only have two. I planted along this whole middle row, probably a good 12 of them, and these are the two that have survived. There is one over here that is still survived the test of time. It's in fact, when it was brand new, the slugs had eaten it all up, and I thought for sure it was dead, and it's bounced back. So if that actually comes to an adult sized plant and fruition and gets some fruit off of it, I think that that's going to be the plant that I want to seed save from, because it's survived, and so it has developed through the test of time from all of the bugs and the slugs, and we'll see. So that, I'll back up here. You can see it's a small garden. It's not very big, and I've done what I can to be a little creative about it. This over here is Cinderella squash. I've only got 2 or 3 of them, and again, I planted a lot of Cinderella squash, and not very many of them came up. These are the maybe 2 or 3 of them. But my sugar pumpkins, they did really well. So I like that variety. I will link the varieties of what I've planted here. And we'll come around here to the flowers. I did have sugar peas along this here, but I chose to not replant the sugar peas. I think I did order some from Baker's Creek, so I might order some, or I might plant some more for the fall and see how they do. These are my flowers, and then of course the cucumbers. I'm going to come around to the back side, or the front side, whichever you want to call it, to my garden, so I can stand at a distance so that you can see how small it is. It is kind of small, but I'm having fun. I'm having fun growing a garden, it may not be a homestead. It may not be, you know, the big, huge lot-sized garden that many people have, but I'm happy growing. And I'm learning. And I know that when we do get our farm someday, that I'll have experience in growing in a garden. This trellis I got for, I can't remember how much, not very much, I think $34 or something like that at home, no, Lowe's. And I decided to use that as a little makeshift fence. And then I used a lattice along the sides here, so I could corner off this and then the rest of the yard for my dog. And of course there's that pile of branches from my magnolia tree, which I will show in a future video, the before and after. It might be a random video, I don't know. And so we'll move along and go across here. You can see my beefsteak tomato plant. It's sad. It has bounced back, but I think that, you know, it is towards the end of summer, and I think that it is probably at the end of its cycle. But I did seed save some of these beefsteaks. It is an heirloom beefsteak tomato, so I will save the seeds. Let's see if I can show you. There we go. It is the red beefsteak heirloom. So I'm going to seed save this particular plant. And then we come to my white tomato plant. It has gotten huge, and it's the only one that has survived from a startling. I had planted probably a good 19, 20 of the white tomatoes, and only one survived. I'm not very, my first time, so, you know, I'm not very good at doing any of that. It's a learning process for me. I'm not the best gardener, but I will say that I am getting some fruit finally. There is one white tomato there, and I think there were some up here. I caught a few, but it's so green and luscious that, oh, there's one right there. And I'm very excited to see that it is growing fruit. So I will seed save any of the fruit that comes off of this, because it did survive a lot of stress, and I'm hoping that that's going to come back through the seeds that it grows. Here's my Jersey Devil. It also has grown, and it has gotten huge fruit. I'm really happy with it. And so I am going to also seed save these Jersey Devils and see how they turn out next year as well. It is the only plant I have left. I did use all of my Jersey Devil seeds, and this is the only one, as well as like the white tomato, this is the only one that survived. And then of course my pepper plants, my big poblano plant is growing and ready to go. I'm getting another baby up here, which is nice. And then I have more plants growing here. Time to pick some more tomatoes. I've already made a batch and put it in the freezer for tomato sauce, and later I plan on canning. And then this is the side of my house. Oh, what is that plant called? I will leave the word below. I can't pronounce the name. Bocaladia, something like that. And then we have my corn. The corn is growing. I was quite surprised. This was only done for an experiment. I wasn't expecting anything really to grow, but it did. And so I am excited to see the results. This is my biggest corn right here. And I'm gonna leave that one on the stalk and hopefully be able to save those corn kernels to seed save for next year. But there's my corn. I hope that you like this video, and please subscribe if you like my channel, and I will see you next time. I hope that you have a fabulous weekend. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.